Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I laughed out loud.
Multiple times. I was in the same room and got to listen.
They're just like...
I warned you it was pretty cringe.
Cringe is exactly the right word. This is like cringe fail compilation, 4 straight chapters.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get into the sort of plot things that are happening. I do think it's important to address the overall style and tone of these chapters.
Agreed.
Initially, and what makes them quote-unquote cringe. This is Everybody Hates Rand.
Yeah.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I am Sally Goodger.
Yeah. I know Brandon Sanderson is capable of subtle writing to some extent. Not like, he's not writing any Poirot novels in terms of hiding clues and allowing us to make our own conclusions about themes.
Yeah, he's no Dostoevsky giving you stuff to take with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you will not need to write any book reports on this because you can just say, here's the text. It tells you what the themes are. I will say, it's nice to have themes. And it's nice at the climax to be like, here are the themes and here are the ways we've stuck to them.
Yes.
I do wonder if this text was what motivated the guys who did Game of Thrones to say that texts are for 8th grade book reports.
Themes are for 8th grade book reports.
Because it reads a little bit like an 8th grade book report. This is the climax. It's a very emotional set of chapters, and I respect that. I do, and I will continue saying this, enjoy some of the ways in which the themes are brought back. I think it is a cathartic moment to have Rand finally accept that other people have agency and can also make choices, even choices that ultimately lead to their deaths, and that's okay. And I am glad that Edwene gets to have a heroic moment and gets to assert her own agency in a text that has largely refused to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. This set of chapters in particular, to an extent, this whole book over-relies on text features like italics and over-capitalization in order to provide emphasis and to ensure that we are reading tone the way that it is meant to be read. I might be particularly sensitive to this because I'm a copy editor of a children's textbook, but that's something that is largely seen in juvenile fiction. Most adult fiction writers are supposed to trust their readers to understand what is meant to be emphasized and also to write well enough to not need overemphasis. So it feels a little condescending, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a classic piece of writing advice of if someone cannot understand the tone of your conversation without dialogue tags, then you haven't written the dialogue tags are incredibly helpful, and italics can be incredibly helpful in specific situations, but if you can't get across the tone based on what your characters are saying and how they're behaving to one another, you haven't written to the point of the conversation, and that's very hard to do. I'll acknowledge that. But dialogue's a pretty key part of writing fiction, so it's something to be aware of. Yeah, I agree that the italics is a little bit too much.
So are the dialogue tags, to your point. Rand's doing a lot of whispering and murmuring and etc., etc.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I get it.
He's being dramatic.
Yeah.
This is meant to be a dramatic scene.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I could understand that. I don't mind the overcap. I have never really minded the overcapitalization of the Dark One. I think it's kind of funny, but at some point Rand starts to talk in all caps back to him, which I like was sitting there being like, maybe this is like part of the text emphasizing that Rand is going through yet another apotheosis moment. Rand just can't keep ascending to different levels of godhood. He just can't stop, you know? So I'm glad you found a lot of catharsis in this because I was really frustrated by it. So I'm glad that there are people, maybe I'm just in a really bad headspace because I was like, this theme that Rand does not believe that other people has agency has bothered me and has always bothered me. And it's very frustrating for like this to be the thing that enables him to win, where it's just like...
Yeah, with 100 pages left. You're like,
Yeah.
Wow, if only he'd sort of digested that sooner.
But you're right. It's nice that he finally did it. I don't mean to be completely negative. I was just like, great.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
It took
Come
you-
on.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. To your apotheosis point, yeah, I do find that like, is this meant to be a sort of Super Saiyan mode? It is jarring, and it is, I think, ultimately, if we're talking about themes, non-thematic. You know, this is meant to be a confrontation between a cosmic force, which we are told repeatedly by Brandon Sanderson is a cosmic force, not a person, so stop thinking of it as a person. Even though you've been writing it like a person this entire book, stop it. It's meant to be a confrontation between cosmic darkness and a human avatar, a sort of human representative, a champion of people who is representing humanity. And so having Rand be like, actually, I'm also God, because I can talk in all caps too, is like, I think we're missing the point here.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot, what's happening is that, like, Rand is having this moment where he realizes, to put it in Buddhist terms, which is where I'm going with this, that he needs to release some of the attachments that he holds to people.
Done famously well in Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2.
Yes, exactly. He needs to release the attachments that he has to people, let them make their own decisions, and if he is going to be able to play in this cosmic space with the Dark One, he needs to operate differently.
He needs to be able to be a witness without being sort of a micromanager of other people's decisions.
Yeah, so I think I'm always interested, much like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when we're playing with these themes of, like, releasing attachment and what does that mean and to what extent does that mean, etc., etc. But it just felt a little out of place to me. I think because, I mean, I'm no religious philosopher, but what this indicated to me, and maybe I'm just overreading it, that's always a possibility of, like, this felt very Buddhist to me, release attachment. But kind of another key principle of Buddhism is that it doesn't deal with goodness and evil the same way that our Western religions do. And so this fight between the light and the dark feels, even though there are elements of, like, Eastern philosophies and non-Western philosophies, it feels fundamentally very Westernized with just the, like, light and the dark.
Very Christian.
Yeah.
With the sort of elements of self-sacrifice as heroism.
Yeah, Rand is a Jesus figure. We've talked about that repeatedly. He even has the freaking...
Stigmata.
Yeah, holes in his hands. So it just felt very odd to me, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I do think the Wheel of Time has tried to play with both of those things throughout the series to varying degrees of success. And when it gets, like, we're finally at the finish line, and so we're sort of re-emphasizing these things that we've been playing with all of this time. And it's like, yeah, the finish line, it turns out that reconciling those two things in a way that doesn't seem like you're favoring one over the other, or like you're not fully understanding one over the other, is really difficult. Re Avatar: The Last Airbender, a text that does very well with integrating Eastern philosophy while still having, like, Western notions, I would say, of heroism and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
My other beef...
Beef 2.
Beef 2.
Beef 3, perhaps.
I'm not going to be able to keep track of all my beefs. I do dislike how the sort of triumphant crescendo of Rand's comeback is the revelation that Lan's not dead. He's still alive. I know I really kept that secret from you guys last time.
Yeah.
Because, okay, setting aside the fact that we don't like Lan as a character.
Yeah, real dud.
Real flop.
Jobless.
Jobless flop on a, like, personal level.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The idea that Rand's ultimate, like, triumph of humanity is in one person's survival, I think is sort of also not doing well with the themes, because, as you're saying, it's meant to be about, like, letting go of attachments, including something that Rand has been struggling with his entire arc, which is, like, letting go of his own attachment to life, to humanity, to, like, being a person on this earth. Lan is Rand's mentor figure, from whom Rand takes a lot of cues and is like, he's my guy, he's my mirror, he's my character foil. So we have Lan doing this, like, suicidal charge at Demandred from a plot level, ultimately silly and ineffectual, but whatever. We have Lan doing this, like, incredible thing for the light, and he falls on his own sword. Not literally, he falls on Demandred's sword, but this example of self-sacrifice for the sake of humanity, something that Rand is currently in the midst of. And then we have, like, Lan isn't dead after all. He was just, like, psyching us out. Despite all of the other people who have died, Lan somehow has survived, and I don't even really know what I'm trying to get at here. There's obviously, like, an element of poetic dissatisfaction and the idea that Lan has been fucking suicidal this entire text, so it's incredibly frustrating. It's like watching a season of Survivor where someone's like, hey, vote me out, I quit, and everyone's like, we're not gonna vote you out because we need you for our alliance.
Yeah.
Instead, we're gonna send home someone who wants to be here.
And is good at the game and surviving.
Yeah, Edwene. Like, it's so frustrating to have, like, Edwene die at the sort of height of her power in this really incredible moment. And she's able to come to terms with that in her final moments, and Rand is able to come to terms with that, and that's really great. But then here's Lan, who's, like, still not reconciled himself to the fact of living. And that living is hard. And not just something that you do in an instant in terms of getting stabbed in the gut and it not killing you.
Yeah.
Survival is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, it's an active choice every day.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, just a couple of things to add. I was also struggling to articulate, well, again, I guess I also read these chapters like 20 minutes ago, so all these thoughts are happening at a rapid pace because my life is falling apart. It's one very frustrating, so we have this one chapter where Rand is having this moment of catharsis / apotheosis, letting go, confronting Egg, all of these things. And intercutting that chapter is Shendla being like, oh my god, Demandred's dead. And you're like, girl, what the fuck are you doing here?
The beautiful Shendla. No, the beautiful Shendla whispered.
And you're like, this is supposed to be like the moment of the series.
Whose point of view is it? Is it Shendla's own point of view? Does Shendla think of herself as the beautiful Shendla?
Honestly, if she did, good for her. That's iconic.
What's happening?
So it's so jarring to just be like, I thought we were at like the moment of Rand's character arc right now. And here's Shendla crying over Demandred's body. And then we get a cut at the end of the chapter, I think, to Loyal being like, Lan died. And Matt's like, wow, that really affected me.
Yeah.
And
raise a flag.
yeah.
Matt literally says, that really affected me.
Yeah. And you're like,
oh my god, show don't tell, my good bitch, please. Themes are for 8th grade book reports.
Can you guys emote in like a way that's not saying, wow, I'm sad? It's important to name your feelings, but please emote. And
Matt's never named a feeling in his
exactly.
life.
Matt is 100% internal. He's not sort of operating on that level. So it's super jarring to have all this intercutting Rand's kind of like getting back on his feet moment. And what it's doing, Emily pointed to this last episode, I believe, or the episode before, I can't even remember at this point, where like having what Lan is doing at the same time that Rand is doing all of this elevates Lan to the same level of importance as Rand in the narrative, which is so weird.
Lan basically hasn't had an arc this entire series.
Yeah, Lan's just always been there, and like I know he's like the author's most special favorite boy, but it's just like it's super weird. It's super weird to be like, this person is as important as the Dragon Reborn who's trying to save all of humanity right now. So that alone is super bizarre narratively and very jarring. But then go ahead.
This is also obviously meant to, we started at Lord of the Rings and we're ending with Lord of the Rings.
Hey, baby.
Famously, the things that simultaneously happen at the end of the Return of the King is Frodo gets through a series of unfortunate events, the ring into the fires. Spoiler.
The ring, he gets his fingy bitten off.
Meanwhile, Aragorn is running this insane distraction at the Black Gates or whatever they're called, and Aragorn, in the movie at least, I don't remember if this is true in the book, is like on the verge of death while this is happening. Lan is obviously meant to be our Aragorn stand-in, but unfortunately he has nowhere near the arc, not to mention the Riz.
Yeah.
As Aragorn. Aragorn has a really interesting, like, coming out of the shadows and reclaiming leadership and learning what it means to be a leader.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah. And it's really lovely and wholesome and nice. Lan has... Let's real quick go over Lan's arc. Sorry, I'm totally...
No, I'm thinking about Aragorn now. I have so much to say about him. Go off, Queen.
Lan accompanies Moiraine through various tasks. Tells Rand some really destructive things about masculinity and heroism, and then is like, okay, and I will also be in the background of everything. Lan continues to be with Moiraine through various tasks until Moiraine dies, then Lan leaves, gets assaulted by Muriel, and then goes and follows Nynaeve on various tasks. We are told in passing that Lan is the king of a dead country, and that's sad. Then Lan, still accompanying his wife on various tasks, goes and does more things. And then Lan leaves his wife and goes to fight a suicidal battle. Lan has done almost nothing in terms of action. It's all been accompanying someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, or building off this reputation of a country that we've never engaged with.
Cared about.
Know nothing about, really, except the sort of general Borderlander culture that we get.
Like, when you enter Gondor and are like, oh, Aragorn's supposed to be the king of this place, you're like, oh, this is a place with real people. It has people I care about. It also has people who I don't care about. It's a complicated place, and it obviously needs a good leader. Mm-hmm. It's not like Malkir's over there, like...
with some guy eating tomatoes disgustingly at the top.
And making fucking Pippin sing a little song as a court gesture.
Sing for me.
Sing for me, Paolo.
Dance for me, little jester boy.
Pour one out for Pippin.
Pippin!
My bestie.
Yeah, I saw this great, it was like a Tumblr post or a tweet or something about Lord of the Rings, and just like how, like, it's so interesting, like how this text, which feels so out of place in many ways in the modern era, is so beloved by so many people. And it's what this post was positing is that, like, it's just such a genuine text. Like, Jurt sat down and was like, I have genuine love for the story. I have genuine love for humanity. I have genuine things to say about humanity and the bonds that we formed. Yeah.
So real. Listen to We Don't Watch Outlander starting next Thursday, I believe.
We're talking about Fellowship of the Ring, and just like, yeah, there's this earnestness and this love, and that comes through in Aragorn in really interesting ways. Like, he's such an interesting figure.
Aragorn cries, he laughs, he giggles, he dances, he has a grand old time.
Yeah, and he, like, his arc is about learning to come, like you said, come out of the shadow and just be like, I am a king that loves my people and loves the world, and I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the world, versus Lan being like, I want to sacrifice myself very badly because the world doesn't...
That's the only way in which I personally can derive meaning from my life.
Like, it's like, that's all that he has, you know, despite the fact that he has a wife who loves him and people who are invested in him. He's like, none of that matters unless I can be this self-sacrificing figure. So it just doesn't ring at all the same. I was thinking of Aragorn too in reading this, because I'm like, this bitch wants to be Viggo Mortensen so bad. What's his
You'll
name?
never be here!
Yeah. How dare you stand where he
How
stood?
dare you!
Aragorn is that bitch. And, like, yeah, there's just this, like, and I can't, like, overemphasize just the, like, earnestness of him being like, I'm going to die so that Frodo has a chance, you know?
I mean, it really is just, like, you hit the nail on the head. He displays the full range of human emotion.
Yeah.
It makes him fantastic. He is sort of, like, comes off as sort of grim and scary when we first meet him, and then we're like, oh, he's actually just a dude.
Yeah, he's just a guy, and he loves those little hobbits so much.
He loves them, and he loves everyone, basically, that he meets.
Yeah, I think so often of the scene where, I guess, spoiler again, where Boromir dies, and they're just having this moment, and you're like, yeah. I can't get enough of Lord of the Rings. Jurt was a complicated man, but God, did he pop off with that one. So, yeah, kind of, this is a long way to get around to your point where, like, Lan being like, I'm going to sacrifice because that's, like, what a man does, versus doing it because he wants to give everyone he loves a fighting chance. He wants his wife to have a chance to stay alive. He wants his friends to have a chance to stay alive. He wants to help. And this is how he sees that he can do it. Really undercuts all these themes of, like, people making choices to protect the world that Rand is thinking about in his... Like, Rand keeps being like, all these people want to fight because they believe in the world and they believe in each other and they want us to have a chance. And then Land's just like, well, this is what boys do. And you're like, what? Why are we putting these two philosophies next to each other?
Yeah, it's like the investment in making this sort of Lord of the Rings parallel is so detrimental because we already had what would have been a perfect parallel for this moment in Egg's death. Mm-hmm. Egg, without really overemphasizing it the way that Brandon is doing in every other scene of this book, dies because she is holding the world together in anti-Balefire style. That is literally the most, like, representative moment of a character choosing above their own safety the world.
Yeah.
And we just, like, can't handle, like, sorry to make it sexist, but it is really odd to me that we couldn't just have this incredible moment of a woman doing this.
Yeah.
And it really says a lot about this text.
Yep.
I'm really grateful that Egg gets to be the one. I'm not grateful. That sounds like I'm, like, kissing Brandon Sanderson's feet. I enjoy that Egg gets to be the one who's like, Rand, shut up.
Yeah, me too. I really liked that.
Because that's been her from day one. I'm glad that she is, like, that bitch who gets to be like,
yeah, let's go, Queen.
Get your head out of your ass and let people do their thing. But she could have done that in this moment still. Yeah.
I mean, to say the unsaid and undercutting all of our feelings about this is like, it has to be Lan because Lan is a man and only men can have meaning. Like, Lan, when he comes back from the dead, everyone on the battlefield is, like, fucking rejuvenated.
Yeah.
And it's like
they just scored the game-winning goal. And
yeah.
It's like, oh my word.
And it's just like, you guys barely even thought about Egg dying, and she did so much for you. It's just like, it really ticks me off. And it, like you said, it also really undercuts whatever we were trying to do with Lan's death is undercut by the fact that he does not actually die. So
he's still alive. He's unkillable.
You're like, that was so stupid.
And it's also that, like, this is begging us to believe that Demandred's death is what actually, like, turns this whole battle around, when in reality, it's kind of just, like, a matter of timing. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of things happen simultaneously with Lan's death, because that's how climaxes work. Things happen at the same time.
Natch.
Oliver blows the Horn of Valir. That's silly, but
he does it.
And the Horn of Valir summons back all the heroes of the Horn, meaning that Elaine gets rescued, Oliver himself gets rescued. Now we finally have backup. The Shanshan, who have been, like, literally waiting behind the curtain, it seems like, for the last 30 pages for something dramatic to happen, finally rejoin the battlefield. Grady, who's been waiting for some sort of signal, finally unleashes the river, which also does important things. Yeah. And it's like, it's not like these things were triggered by Lan killing Demandred. They just sort of coincidentally happened at the same time.
Yeah.
So, again, we're overemphasizing the wrong things here.
Yeah.
We could have restructured this, I believe, with having the Egg moment here and having this sort of, like, beam of light stuff. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and this alone being like, it's Lansdeth that did it also undercuts a key theme of the Wheel of Time, which is fate, in the way that this complicated web of events comes together to make the world move forward. And it's like all these things you referenced is like a perfect, beautiful example of the way that fate can play out in really meaningful ways. All these people waiting to do their part at the exact right time. Which is like, just kidding, it's Lan. What are we doing?
I'm sick of this.
We have lost the plot.
We basically covered that first chapter. We read 4.
Yeah, sorry. I don't think there's as much to talk about in.
But then in the next chapter, we have Rand having this sort of... Rand's still confronting the Dark One, and he has this, what is very touching to many people, this sort of like rehash of, here are all the characters who it's really about. Again, this is a very thematic moment in that Rand is like, although this is a story about the champion of light versus evil, it is ultimately a story about a lot of people. It's an ensemble cast, which is good because the series itself has done a lot to back up this
Agreed, yeah.
theme. We have spent as much time with other characters as we have with Rand, if not in some cases more. My one beef with that little thing is that it goes like paragraph by paragraph talking about people who are very identifiable. You know, it's about a man who found Tom, okay. A woman with a secret, okay, Moiraine. Man whose family was taken from him, okay, I guess that's Perrin, even though that wasn't really relevant.
Yeah.
A woman who's healing, okay, Nynaeve. A hero, okay, Matt. A woman who doesn't bend her back while she's beaten, okay, Egg. Great, that's great. Okay, the very first paragraph, though, is... It was about a woman torn and beaten down, cast from her throne and made a puppet. A woman who had crawled when she had to. Who's that?
I know, I was like, Swan?
Morgoth? Why are you here?
Yeah.
This is like every other person is, okay, Tom, Moiraine, Perrin, Matt, Edwin, Nynaeve. The original Emmons Fielders. Yeah. What the fuck is Moiraine? What the fuck is Swan / Morgoth doing here?
It's probably Morgoth, you're right. I was just like, who sits on a throne?
Morgoth hasn't even been in this book!
Yeah.
I'm just shocked.
I know,
It's so jarring to me every time I read this section.
Swan also made sense to me because Swan and Moiraine's like little pact to get the dragon, but you're like, you met her like twice, girly pop.
It also says that woman still fought, and I'm like, Swan's dead.
You're right, she's dead. So who the fuck is it?
I don't know.
Morgoth? Ileana?
Is this like another example of bad editing?
Yeah. No one was like, Brando.
Hey, who's that supposed to be?
Who? Avienda? Min.
Okay, anyway.
Name a woman.
Name a woman. Name any woman. We just didn't have to have that paragraph. It would have been fine. I would have been like, great, that's cute. No.
Yeah, they are cute. I like it when we call back to... I found this...
People's character arcs.
Yeah, I found this moment very charming.
Yeah.
I've seen the Matt line very often in my perusal of the Wheel of Time internet, but...
Cute little Matt. Anyway, Rand and the Dark One are yelling at each other.
In all caps.
In all caps. And the Dark One's like, meh, I still win eventually because people die. And I'm gonna get the Battle Lord. He is mine. And I'm like, ooh, Battle Lord. That's a fun new title for Matt. And then it's like this weird moment where Matt is fighting and it's sort of intercut with that. With Matt fighting and being like, having this weird moment of Rand in his head and the Dark One kind of trying to drag him into the abyss. And it's like, this is bizarre.
Yeah,
and then it's like, then things turn up, I guess.
Yeah, Matt's basically like, can't do this right now, later. I hate to say this, but it feels like maybe the Dark One going after Matt psychologically would have more impact on me if I felt like Matt had done more in this battle. Like, I feel like...
Matt had, like, some cool moments of just, like, when we got to, like, walk in on him looking at his maps.
Yeah.
You know? We're like, sweet.
Here he goes.
Here he goes. But then he didn't, like, he's had way cooler battles than this. This one was kind of a flop. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, like, he just, in terms of, general badass guy, I was like, okay.
Yeah, they sort of went from He was supposed to be a badass in this moment by being, like, a military leader, and they sort of went, like, defaulted to he's badass because he's a good fighter. And I'm like, that's so boring.
That's so boring, though. What we like is when Matt strategizes.
Yeah, Matt's, like, coolest moments have been, like, him standing, like, behind the battle lines, just sort of surveying.
Yeah, being like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, sick.
All right, son of battles.
Yeah, it is weird. And it's also weird to have the Dark One picking on Matt specifically. Yeah, just to your point, it doesn't seem like Matt is particularly instrumental in this moment.
Yeah.
Matt could beef it right now and the battle would not change.
Yeah, everyone kind of knows what they're doing at this point.
But as this is happening, Oliver blows the horn of Valir, which allows Brigitte to return. This has been a question for some time of whether Brigitte is still tied to the horn. She is. That's great.
Good for her.
And she gets to come back and finally fucking kill Hatchet Face. Too little, too late. This is, again, we last saw Elaine 20 or 30 pages ago, so returning now feels like there has been a major time skip, but Elaine tells us, no, it's been like 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. So that's like, hey, what?
Yeah, like what's the point of it then? Why did you make me think Elaine was being assaulted off screen for the past 30 pages?
Weird.
And brutally maimed?
But no, she's fine. The babies are fine. Oh, and Rand is like, and Lan's still alive. And Lan stands up and holds Demandred's head up, which is always gross.
I know. Like, come on.
And, like, Matt goes and rescues him. Narishma's there to heal him enough so that he doesn't die immediately. Then we get the Heroes of the Horn congregating and being like, hey, what's up? And then we get this also sort of, like, out-of-place conversation where Matt is, like, rowing with the Heroes of the Horde and also, like, catching up with them in terms of, like, it really feels like Brandon Sanderson is just trying to, like, clear up any remaining questions people would have had about the plot. Like, Matt's like, wow, wait, who called you? Was it the shadow or the light? And they're like, oh, we wouldn't fight for the shadow. And Matt's like, everyone told me you would. And they're like, well, you're an idiot and you thought wrong. Which is, I guess, Robert Jordan being like, hey, any readers who believed that were stupid. And you're like, okay.
And you're like, well, dog, it's a magical instrument.
Well, you're the one who even put that concept in my head. So and then Matt's like, well, I guess when I, like, got hanged, then that did it, and now I'm no longer tied to the horn. And they're like, actually, it was when you, when a different thing happened that you don't even remember. And we, the readers, are like, oh, it was when Matt got
Bale-fired, yeah. The dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, the Dragonborn saved you twice. And Matt's like, girl, what?
Yeah, fucking kiss his ass after this. And Matt's like, you know, he's, like, attacked me, right?
Yeah.
Verbally, physically in some cases.
Yeah.
I kind of think I've also saved his life.
I think we're good.
I think we're even. But no. So that's weird.
But they're here now, and everyone's like, Arthur Hawkwing, daddy.
Oh, and then we do get a genuinely cute moment where we find out that Noel is now a hero of the horn, and he comes back for Oliver, and it's genuinely very sweet.
Yeah.
Oliver's like, Papa? And Noel's like, hey, kid.
Hey, dog.
And you're like, that's my dad!
I also love that Noel is just, like, chose to remain an old man as a hero of the horn.
Like, do you go through character creation, like in a video game, when you die? And because they're like, God's like, okay, you get to be a hero of the horn now. And you're like, okay, well, I gotta pick me at my sexiest.
Yeah.
And Noel's like, I was absolutely at my sexiest when I died. Old man core, what are you talking about?
Obviously the girlies are gonna eat this up. It's me, Jane Farstrider.
Like, this was my most iconic look.
Yeah.
So.
You're like, whatever, bestie.
Anyway, this moment is cute, but it's not cute enough to justify Oliver blowing the horn. So
yeah, Noel could have also come back for Matt in a very sweet way.
Yeah, that also would have been cute because Matt feels guilty for leaving Noel behind, and that would have been great also.
And Noel would have been like, "Don't worry, this is better, actually."
Anyway, Elaine and Brigitte decide that Elaine's going to rejoin the battle, which she does, and she's like, everyone thinks I'm dead. And it's like, girl, it's been 10 seconds since they sent Lady Corpse-a-Lot into the...
There are so many ridiculous things happening in the book that I completely wiped from my mind. The quote look-alike corpse of Elaine tied to the back of a
soldier.
horse.
You're fighting. You hear someone say, "The queen's dead," and you look over and a horse jogs by you with a vaguely blonde-looking body on it, not wearing the same outfit that the queen was wearing. You're like, that's weird, but also I'm fighting for my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think too much about it. And then literally 30 seconds later, the queen herself is like, "I'm here, actually. Aren't I an inspiration to you? My hair's down. That's how you know I'm being inspiring."
Yeah. They're trying to give Elaine like an Eowyn moment. Luckily, she does flop it.
Yeah, she does flop it majorly.
She tries to fight with a sword, and Brigitte has to save her, and Brigitte is like, "Girl, never do
And
that
Elaine's
again."
like, "I was doing it on purpose to inspire the soldiers to want to save me." And Brigitte's like, "If I were a soldier, I would want to immigrate from your country because of how stupid you are." And I'm like, Brigitte, you're the best character.
Yeah, ate her up with that one for sure.
Even dead, you are still an icon.
Yeah, this section in general is really overemphasizing what one person can do in a battle this large. And like I get that that's sure if you are putting a lot of hero worship into one person and that person falls, of course that's going to impact people psychologically, but also like Emily said, on the ground level these people are fighting for their lives. It does not fundamentally change what's happening to them in that second.
We've also not seen a lot of people have much hero worship for Elaine specifically.
Yeah, for Elaine, but also like Demandred and
Yeah.
Lan, who are having more of that. But yeah, Elaine trying to be like, "I'm here to revitalize the troops," and these guys who are like,
I literally don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care who's in charge of the country as long as I am being fed.
yeah, like as long as I live through today and then get to go
Yeah.
home.
I really don't care.
So it's very frustrating when like they're like Demandred fell and the whole battle is changing. It's kind of like, okay, then it's a kind of a bad battle plan.
We get an Avienda point of view down in the valley at Shale Goal. Been a while since we checked in with these people, which corresponds to the sort of warped timelines. Avienda is running around trying to find Grendel. She runs into... She notes that there's huge groups of wolves running around. And she runs into a guy with golden eyes. A gray beard and golden eyes. I don't think this is meant to be Elias. I think this is meant to be the one guy. What's his name? Gnome.
Yeah.
Because, which I guess answers our questions about whether he physically transformed into a wolf or is still a person and just a wolf in the dream. I don't know.
I think maybe he gets to do both. Maybe he's a werewolf for real.
But anyway, she runs into him and is like, "What's happening?" He's like, "We're gonna go fight all these dark hounds." She's like sick, realizes where Grendel is, and attacks her. She does note that Grendel is sort of surrounded by a posse of her brainwashed people. And Avienda tells herself, like, I really can't friendly fire, bitch. Like, unfortunately, these people would probably rather be dead than be Grendel's puppets, which is what you have to say to yourself, I guess, in those situations. Is it true? Who knows? That's up to those individual people.
Yeah, hard to say.
Matt, we get another Matt point of view as, as the Shanshan return, and also as the, Band of the Red Hand starts refiring the cannons. They are now opting to use a strategy wherein they remain in the cave so that the cannons don't have to be mobile, and they'll just open gateways to wherever they want to fire, which is cute and a fun battle plan.
Yeah.
They should have just done that at the beginning. I don't know why they weren't. Especially because, by my math, no one should be able to travel enough to open a gateway at this point.
Yeah.
So, a little, sketchy there.
Yeah, what remind me the rules of channeling again, Brandon? My understanding is people got tired and
My
like
understanding is
gateways
people
were
get tired
hard.
and they can't do it anymore. Even Andrel, your most special gateway boy, is having trouble.
Yeah, gateways. Remember how gateways are supposed to take like a ton of magic, and now we're just like, that's not true anymore.
They're just windows.
Don't worry about it.
We then get a rare Grady point of view. Grady has been waiting out this entire battle on, like 10 miles upriver. This has not been relevant to this point, but the battlefield has been taking place. The battlefield is with a river running through it. And the river dried up at some point because that's how Trollocs get across water. Trollocs don't like running water. This is something we covered in book 1 and never since.
They're like, what else doesn't like running water? A monster?
Most monsters, vampires, shit like that,
yeah.
Any sort of ghoulies.
Don't like running water. That's so fascinating. Monster lore is so interesting.
Anyway, Grady has been waiting for some sort of signal. Grady has been literally waiting for a certain time. Brandon Sanderson really wanted to make his little Hinderstap vignette relevant again, so that's the force Grady's working with. But the important thing is that Grady, at the appointed time, reopens the river. So now I guess the battlefield will be flooded, but who knows. And then we get a Provara and Andril point of view as Logain insists that everyone needs to go and look for Demandred's special Saw-Angreal that got frozen in the crystal. Andril and everyone else are like, well, those are dumb orders. We're not going to do that. And they go off to, like, fight someone else. I don't know. They're like, we need to defend the cannons. It's like, okay, there's probably already a plan in place for that, but...
Cannons are in a cave.
Whatever.
Cannons are in a hole in the ground.
Then we get a Moghedien point of view.
As she kicks Demandred's corpse.
I know, honestly, I laughed.
Yeah, I did too.
I was like, go off, queen.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I guess I'm the top dog now. And disguises herself as Demandred so she can continue leading the Sharans. She's like, don't be fooled, I'm still alive. And everyone kind of like looks at Demandred's headless corpse and are like,
I'm no paleontologist.
But I think Moghedien's like, shut up, plebs, and let's go into battle. But then before she can actually like sort of reconstitute everyone, the gateway opens and cannons fire at them, and it is unclear whether Moghedien has survived this.
So I hope she dies. That'd be a funny way for Moghedien to die.
And just get killed point blank by cannons at the 11th hour.
Shut up, plebs.
And then we get another brief Talmudi's point of view as they're firing the cannons. It does not confirm whether Moghedien is dead. So that's where we're at. Rand has sort of had his climactic comeback. The battle overall has had a turnaround. Things are looking up.
Yeah, we're kind of at that point. You're tracking the hero's journey / general structure. We are on the up side of that cycle, baby. Coming out of the pit.
We're coming up. In terms of philosophy and actual confrontations with the Dark One, Rand is now on top. However, he is still in a cave with Alana's bleeding out body and Moradin, who's...
Oh, yeah.
We don't know what Moradin's doing.
I forgot about that guy.
So that's sort of suspended. Meanwhile, Perrin's in a coma. Still.
Cringe! I was in a coma at the last battle. I'm sorry, Perrin, you do what you need to do.
No, I think he should have been awake, is what I think he should have been.
I think he should be getting gall, is what I think he should be doing.
And everyone else is still... The only person who's, like, literally in an immediate life or death situation is Avienda, I think, who we'll catch up with
fighting
next time.
Grendel.
Yeah.
Grendel.
Grendel is also the only relevant Forsaken left on the board, so there's that.
I mean, good for her.
Except... Lanfear.
Oh, yeah.
What's Lanfear gonna do? Who knows?
Some Lanfearance, I hope.
Yeah, some Lanfearance. Well, we'll only have about 60 pages to figure it out, though.
Really? Wow, we're that close to the end?
We have...
Feels weird.
I believe 3 sections left of podcast proper. We will probably then follow that up with a couple, 1 or 2 overall plot.
Yeah, a couple wind down episodes.
Q&As type stuff.
Reviewing our overall thoughts of the series and what we've learned, how far we've come.
Mm-hmm. But we're very close to the finish line in terms of actual text.
I can't believe I forgot about Lanfear.
Well, she hasn't been on the page in literally
hundreds of pages
since Perrin was on the page.
Perrin got in his coma, his girl boss coma. Well, goodness.
But that's something to talk about next time. For now, at least we got a check-in with Shendla.
Yeah, you're right. She's my new fave.
She's presumably now been blown apart by cannons, but...
Rip.
Who's to say?
You hate to see a good girl fall down like that.
You hate to see a baddie losing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah.
Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song.
We love you, Glenna McKenzie.
Yeah. Do you have a sign off?
Oh my god, you guys. Okay, it was my nephew's birthday, and I'm trying hard to give my kiddos experiences because they just get like junk, all the time. And their parents don't even want it, So me and Emily and my brother, my nephew's dad, took my nephew to an arcade for his birthday. He just turned 6, so it was really fun. We played racing games for like 30 minutes. That's all he wanted to do.
He was very invested in the car games.
Yeah, yep. He's one of those little boys. He loves cars. So that's all he wants to do. When we played air hockey, and it was super fun. And then afterwards, we went to get corn dogs. But we went on a Sunday, and this is Utah, so most things are closed on Sundays. Theocracy, blah, blah, blah. So we had to go to like a fancier corn dog place. It was a Korean corn dog place, which were really yummy. I got a nice, delicious corn dog with all the little Korean toppings on it. But my brother and my nephew just got their like plain American corn dog, so it was fine. But because it was kind of like a fancier place, it was taking longer than a 6-year-old.
Corn dogs to order.
Yeah. It's not like Arctic Circle, where you like give me a corn dog and they pull one out of
the freezer, stick it in the microwave, and then hand it to you 15 seconds later.
So like my nephew would just like could not conceive of the fact that it took us 10 minutes to get his corn dog. And so he starts going, I'm hungry! Why is my corn dog taking so long? Where is my corn dog? Like yelling in this corn dog shop. And this sweet woman behind the bar like looks up as she's frying his corn dog. And I had to be like, I'm so sorry. And me and my brother were like, what you're doing is rude. Sometimes food takes long, but he was just like, where's my corn dog?
Yeah, we've been saying to each other just sort of as punctuation, where's my corn dog?
It just was like, dude.
I love it so much. Kids are so funny.
I know, to be a child to just be like, societal norms mean nothing to me.
I wish my biggest problem was that my corn dog was taking too long, Yeah. That's such a great period to be in childhood.
Yeah.
Sorry, some people have like weird lighting up there.
So, thank your local corn dog maker.
Yeah, go get a corn dog.
Go get a corn dog. It was so yummy when you get a Korean one and they put the little sugar on it. Have you ever had one? Oh, they're so good.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.